Welcome to the first week of this course designed to provide you with a basic understanding of computers. In this first week, you will be introduced to different types of computers and their uses. Let's get started. You probably realize that we use computers in our everyday lives, but you may not realize that they are not always in the form of a screen and keyboard on our desks. Computers are hard at work whenever you use your credit card, press snooze on your alarm clock, talk on your cell phone, set the timer on your coffee maker, or drive your car. According to your textbook, over half the homes in the U.S. have computers, and most of those are connected to the Internet. This course will focus on desktop computers, but you should know that all computers basically work the same way, even if that computer serves only to make an annoying buzzing sound early in the morning. Simply put, a computer is something that processes numeric instructions and turns them into information that we use. This is possible because the computer uses something called a binary system. The binary system represents the computer's electrical switch and has only two values, 0 or 1. 0 means no, 1 means yes. So, when the computer reads a 1 while it's looking for an H, the H is displayed on your screen. This all happens behind the scenes when you type something. When you ask someone to let you know when it is 2 o'clock, that's an instruction. Giving that same instruction to your alarm clock is not as simple because computers speak numbers, not words. You actually have to program your clock's computer to alert you at 2 o'clock. Have you ever heard somebody say that computers are smart? Well, computers are only as smart as the people who give them instructions. And by the way, these people are called programmers. Because information has become such an important part of our society, so have computers. We need a way to keep track of our pictures, finances, phone numbers and addresses, sometimes even random ideas floating through our heads. We have also gotten very busy. This means we need cell phones and laptops so we can talk and work while we go along with our busy lives. We use computers for email, completing various business projects at home, schoolwork, entertainment, and even balancing our checkbooks. Industries use computers to track packages, design their materials, and keep track of production. The government uses computers to keep track of the population, taxes, military, and police business, and this list is by no means exhaustive. We need to keep up with the latest technology so we don't miss out or fall behind the times. Using computers used to be something we could choose to do or not do, but in today's society, do we still have that choice? Can you think about the ways in which your life has changed for the better since computers? Could you go back? Would you? Now that we realize we can't live without them, let's talk about the different types of computers. You are probably most familiar with the computers we all use the most: desktops, workstations, and notebooks, also called laptops. But let's also remember the smaller fun types of computers such as tablets, handhelds, and smartphones. Your textbook will give you descriptions of these, and I will explain the computers as they relate to organizations. I'm going to give you some key terms, so pay careful attention. Also, remember to check out your flashcards this week so these terms and definitions sink in. A server is something that allows many people to use their computers at the same time without having to wait their turn. Imagine how frustrating a single-direction road with a long line of traffic might be. In contrast, now picture a mega highway with several lanes where you can keep driving and never worry about traffic. That's what a server allows, and that's why it's perfect for an organization but not necessary for your home. With a server, many people can use their computers at the same time without worrying about what others are doing. Of course, at home you likely don't have a long line of traffic, so a server is not necessary. A mainframe computer is one where there is a lot of traffic, but the users need access to the same location. For example, consider a large insurance company in which 100 insurance agents are looking for a policy in the same place. Having those insurance policies on a mainframe computer is like having a very large parking lot instead of a single parking space. There's room for everyone to be in the same place at the same time. The mini-computer is somewhere between the personal computer and the mainframe computer. Same idea about needing a parking lot, but not quite as large. Supercomputers are just that, supersized. These are used for things like the New York Stock Exchange, the entire United States power supply routes, or for any major bank's ATMs. Needless to say, these computers are not handhelds. Now let's move to the mechanics of the computer. This information isn't something you would typically need to use, but it's a good idea to understand how a computer works. The next few slides will break down the working parts of a computer for you. Let's dig in. There are 4 parts of a computer: hardware, software, data, and the user. The hardware is any part of the computer you can touch, like the cords and the outer casing. Software is the instructions that tell the computer what to do. You might know software better as programs, like Microsoft Word. In this example, Microsoft Word is software that tells a computer how to process written text. Data is individual pieces of information that might not make sense to us, but the computer converts them into useful information that does make sense to us. If you are listening to this lecture but watching the slideshow, you're seeing how your computer converts data. It takes sounds, letters, graphics, and different programs and uses all of these components to create your lectures. Pretty cool, isn't it? Finally, the most important part of the computer, the user. The user could be someone typing at a keyboard, or the programmer. Either way, remember that a computer can't do anything without someone telling it what to do. A computer processes information so you can see it, and this process can be broken down into 4 steps: input, processing, output, and storage. Let me simplify that a bit. If you type something into Microsoft Word, you are providing the input. Based on the computer's programming, it will process what you typed to figure out what it should do. When the computer figures it out, your text becomes the output on the screen, and then your text is stored temporarily so that you can see it. The hardware that makes a computer work is also very important. There are 4 categories of hardware: processors, memories, input and output, and storage. The processor is the brains of the computer. Its job is the main job of a computer because it processes those numbers into words humans can make sense of. This central processing unit, or CPU, includes things like microprocessors, motherboards, and circuit boards. If you hear a commercial for a Pentium 4, it means the computer uses a Pentium 4 microprocessor as its CPU. Telling someone your computer's microprocessor is the same as telling someone your car's engine size. Let's talk about memory next. The most common type of memory is RAM, which stands for Random Access Memory. RAM holds the data and instructions that the CPU uses. If your computer has a lot of RAM, your computer is probably fast. We measure RAM by something called bytes, which stores a single character like A or B. There are so many that we now use bigger values like kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, and terabytes. Think of this in terms of a car. The bigger the engine, the faster it goes. Storage is memory used to keep your information on the computer even when it's turned off. As information has become so plentiful, storage has become a real issue. People are running out of room. There are two main types of memory: optical, as in CDs and DVDs, and magnetic, like a disk. The terms input and output are just what you think. A keyboard is the best example of input, and a printer is the best example of output. You put information into your computer using a keyboard, and that information might find its way back out of your computer using the printer. You see? Now that we've covered the mechanics, let's talk about something you will definitely use often: software. There are two types of software. The first is called system software, which tells your computer's hardware what to do. This type of software is already installed on your computer when it arrives, and it isn't something you use to make changes. This software is responsible for displaying your desktop, starting programs like Word, displaying the time, and showing you where your files are kept. The second type of software is much more common: Microsoft Word, Excel, TurboTax, Quicken, Explorer, and any kind of game you run on your computer. If you install something after your computer arrives, it is likely application software. The type of application software you use depends on you. There are graphics programs, web design tools, programs for word processing, database management, spreadsheets, and even entertainment software applications such as video games. There are many to choose from, and many companies compete because computer software is a big business today. As more people log on to the Internet, more companies are trying to sell their software. If you have ever gone into a big store that sells software, you were probably overwhelmed by the number of choices you had, just like the rest of us. We'll talk more later about different application software, which is something you will need to know as you move through this online learning environment. Next week, we'll talk about the Internet,